What's good, everybody? It's Jonah coming back at you in another video. So with this video, I want to talk about belief and to have you understand that all things are possible when you believe. Now, I know there's going to be people out there who say, oh, well, of course, that's a cliche. Joel, I've heard it all the time. But this is true. All things are possible when you believe. First and foremost, this is true because the unthinkable, the impossible, you can envision it in your mind, right? You can create this in your mind because everything that exists on this planet, with the exception of nature, right? Any object that you can see, grab, touch, it was created in the mind of man. It was created in someone's mind, which now it was brought to the physical, so now we can see it, right? Someone at one point had an idea to create a wallet, right? Someone at one point had an idea to create a watch. Someone had an idea to create some keys, right? Other people had an idea to create a glasses case, hand sanitizer, right? And I'm just grabbing things that are on my desk, right? But all these things were created in the mind of someone. And they brought that image to reality, and now we can experience it, right? Some things that are deemed impossible, of course, is going to be labeled as impossible if it has never been seen or done before. But that doesn't mean if someone says it's impossible, or other people say it, or people unanimously agree it's impossible, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is, right? At one point, it was seen and deemed impossible for man to fly. But the Wright brothers, right, the people who invented the airplane, in their mind, they couldn't have thought of it as being impossible, because they thought of it as being impossible, they wouldn't even have tried to begin with, right? But yet, in their mind, they believed it was possible. And so they worked towards that and was able to successfully create the first airplane. And because of that invention, right, we have airplanes, and we're able to travel state to state, country to country, a lot faster than without it, right? If we had, imagine we still to this day had to take a boat to travel from North America to Europe, right? Like that would be much more of an inconvenient and much longer trip. But that at one point was deemed impossible. Something else that was deemed impossible back then, right? Of course, back then, travel, motor transportation, horses. Today, not so much, right? Today we have vehicles, we have motorized cars, vehicles, we have electric cars now. Soon enough, at some point in the future, we'll probably have flying cars, right? Which we've seen all in the cartoons all the time. A lot of these things at one point were deemed impossible, but yet somehow, some way, it's here. It exists in this present day, and well, the flying cars will probably exist at some point in the future. But you get the idea. All things are possible when you believe, because if you believe something is impossible, then you're basically going to end the idea right there. You are not going to give it thought. You are not going to think about the possibility or think how can something like this be done. Because I promise you, if rather than saying, oh, that's impossible, if you switch that thought to saying, oh, let's think about how it can be done, then that is a complete different train of thought, right? You begin brainstorming of ways of how it can actually be created or delivered, rather than saying it's impossible and ending it there. Another example, back then, the only form of communication would be person to person, face to face, or sending letters, notes to people in the mail. Then somehow, some way, someone had the idea of creating an ability to communicate with people all around the world, right? So then that's when they invented landlines, which is, you had like your home telephone. So now you can call somebody. And then eventually that got promoted to a cell phone. So now in this day and age, everyone has a cell phone. Even kids that are like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old all now have cell phones, because they can contact, family members. At least when I was a kid growing up, we had a home phone, right? And that was the norm back then. Now everyone has a cell phone, right? And It used to just be that you can now communicate with someone, but now you can actually call someone through FaceTime and see their face for someone across the entire world, right? So this is what I mean. Things that were once deemed impossible, we now have it here. It now exists. We can see it. So now because we see it, we know that it's no longer impossible. We know that it's possible because we see it. We use this technology and these services, right? So now we know it's possible. So a lot of times when there's the new invention, right? Even now, present day, the new thing that's quote unquote deemed impossible was AI, right? Artificial intelligence. Now the things that seem to be impossible for artificial intelligence is now possible, right? I just recently went to an event that was showing the future of AI, right? And someone showed a program where an AI robot, it can essentially mimic you, right? You can teach it some information and it'll essentially mimic you. So for example, you can now go on vacation and the AI version of you, that robot, can sit in Zoom calls and have conversations with other people. So you can be out enjoying vacation and that robot will literally be essentially a carbon copy of you on a Zoom call live with someone else. Like that person on the other end is a real person asking you questions, and that robot version of you will be answering them and speaking to them as if you were there. So and that robot apparently can be on 100 different Zoom calls at the same time. So imagine your robot version of yourself can be speaking to 100 different people at the same time all across the world on separate Zoom meetings while you're on vacation, while you're spending time with your family, while you're doing all these things. Once again, it was deemed impossible. And yet, here we are. And a technology like that, everyone can see the value in that, of you being able to continue bringing in business and customers and closing deals and doing all these things without you ever even being at the computer. That's the future, right? Artificial intelligence, AI, is now the future, which was something that was deemed impossible. So I give you guys all these examples so you can understand that all things are possible when you believe. Imagine you are in a position right now where you believe, where things in your life are not desirable, right? And you just believe that you're not good enough. If you believe that you're not good enough, then that is what you are creating. That is where your thoughts are going. Your thoughts are immediately, if that's your belief, then the thoughts are going to reflect that belief. When quote unquote failure happens, when a mistake happens, when a shortcoming happens, you're going to reinforce that belief that you're not good enough. However, if you believe that you were capable, if you believe that you were great, if you believe that all things are possible, that you can be, do, or have anything in this lifetime, your thoughts are going to begin reflecting that, right? You are going to have positive reinforcement when you speak to yourself. You are not going to be, you're not going to be saying things to bring yourself down. You're not going to be disrespecting yourself or nitpicking yourself or being so hard on yourself. You are going to accept yourself and say, you know what, I can do this, right? You're going to have positive self-talk. I can do this. I am capable. I am worthy. So this is why you shouldn't be discouraged, because you don't know if you are even one idea away from having that breakthrough, right? You could have fell on your face so many times or have been struggling so much throughout life, but it could just be that one idea, that one epiphany that comes to you that can change it all. That can entirely change it all for you, yourself, your family, everyone around you, right? So you need to begin to understand that all things are possible when you believe. You need to understand that your mind, the power of your brain, your mind, is infinite, because you can use your imagination to create the impossible. You can close your eyes and create the dream life. Create how you want to be living, right? How you want to be like, how you want to look as far as your health, right? How you want to dress, the home you want to be living in, what your daily life looks like, right? Traveling all the time, or just being retired and just doing whatever you want. You can create that. You can begin creating the things that are quote unquote impossible in your mind, right? Just imagine if you're in an undesirable situation, and let's just say you're struggling financially, and you tell someone, you know, I'm gonna be a billionaire, or I am a billionaire right now. They're gonna look at you and say you're crazy, that it's impossible, that it won't happen, because they'll just be looking at the facts of your life and saying, well, you're not a billionaire right now because I just looked at your bank account, right? Or there's no way you're gonna be a billionaire because there you're working a job and the job is not gonna pay you enough to get you to be a billionaire, right? Like they'll just be looking at the facts of your life. Who cares, right? Who cares? That has no bearing, right? It's no different than you being single right now and saying that you are gonna find the love of your life, that you will be married, right? Someone isn't gonna look at you and say you're crazy, that will never happen. Like, you can find a partner, right? Just because it may not have happened previously doesn't mean that it won't happen in the future. But oftentimes people use the past or use the evidence or the information that they know of to decide their future. They'll say, oh, well, there's no way I can get my dream house. As much as I want this house, there's no way I'll ever live there because I don't have the finance for it. You're just looking at the past to determine the future. That has nothing, one doesn't have to correlate with the other. And once again, if it's deemed quote unquote impossible for you to own that dream home, just remember, all things are possible when you believe. You don't have to know the how. You don't need to know the method, because if you knew the how, you would already have it, right? So the fact that it's not in your possession at this given moment in the real physical world, then it's just because you don't know the how. But once again, you don't need to. You just need to believe, because a route will reveal itself to you at some point, at the right time when you are ready. That's what you need to accept. So I share all these stories with you to help increase your belief, to know that there are people out there who created amazing inventions and created amazing life for themselves, even when they were told that it weren't possible, right? There's plenty of billionaires who were born dirt broke. That had no bearing on them, because it could have just been that they were one idea away, one business idea away from getting there. And that idea started in the mind. So you need to begin seeing yourself as great, seeing yourself as capable, right? Don't allow your situations to determine your worth. Don't, if you're struggling financially, don't look at your bank account and have that be the end all be all, the final straw that determines your worth in this world. The two do not have to correlate. If you let it correlate, then it will. But the two don't have to, right? Where you're at right now, your present reality, all it is just a reflection of the previous thoughts that you've had, the previous self, right? So what you're experiencing right now in your present reality is technically old news, because it takes time for you to manifest the things that you were thinking of, right? The thoughts, your thoughts and your emotion is what attracts things into your life. So what you're experiencing right now is what you were thinking the past few days or the past few weeks or the past few months, right? That's just your old self. And that's okay, right? Don't beat up your old self, because your old self is what brought you to this position. And even if you're experiencing contrast right now, that's a blessing, because in the contrast, you can say, you know what? This is not what I want. This right here is what I want. And then you can begin focusing on that and being consumed with the idea of having that or becoming this or living this life. So at the end of the day, it all works to your benefit. So once again, tying it all back, right? You need to remember and believe that you are powerful, that you are great, that all things are possible when you believe, because when you believe, that is when the belief creates the facts. So that rest of the video. If you enjoyed the video, do leave a like and subscribe, guys, as we are on the road to 100 subscribers. So I want you guys to be there along the journey with me. So that next big major milestone. So once again, guys, it's Joel, and I'm out. See you guys for the next video.